Welcome back to That Stitch-tastic. My name is Angela, and I am a knitting instructor as well as your yarn craft cheerleader. Today, we will begin casting on our sock. And this video will be illustrating the long tail cast on. If you need some more understanding of the long tail cast on, please see Part 2A in this playlist, which will go over the long tail cast on in depth. Now, for today, what we are going to need 2 balls of our sock yarn, and this is the ball for sock A. The ball for sock B is hanging out over here and waiting. We are going to need some stitch markers or some scrap yarn to help us mark sock A from sock B. And you will want a little gauge, a knitting gauge, because we're going to pay attention to the space that is in between our stitches as we're casting on, because we want to make sure that we have a nice and flexible edge that's still firm, with which we will get with the long tail cast on. So we are going to be casting on for sock A, and to mark this as sock A, what I do is I take a scrap piece of contrasting yarn, just make a little loop, and I slide it onto the needle just after my slip knot. Now this allows me to mark the beginning of sock A without making too big of a gap between the slip knot and the first cast on stitch. So again, remember, the tail yarn is going to be in front over your thumb. The working yarn is going to be over your index finger, and you're just going to begin casting on. And make your cast on stitch and firm it up. And give it a little tug. Now, remember, as we discussed in the previous video, we do not want to be tugging or snugging up our stitches too much with the tail yarn, because we do need a nice gap. In her book, Ann Budd recommends that that there is a space of between a 1/16 to a 1/8 of an inch between the 2 stitches as you're casting on. So if you want to make sure you are you're right in there, you can hold up your stitches as you're casting on and measure them with your gauge. If you don't think you're casting on too snugly, you can just keep going without measuring. So in this worksheet shop, the handout specifies 80 stitches. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pause the video, because I don't want you to have to sit here and watch me cast on 80 stitches, because that gets a little boring for you. So I'm going to pause the video. However, what I do want to say, when you get to 40 stitches, which is halfway, you want to place another stitch marker on your needle, because this will identify where we need to divide the stitches for the front of the sock and the back of the sock. So I'm going to pause this now, and I'll catch up with you again when I cast on my 80 stitches. So I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, welcome back. And you should now have 80 stitches cast on for sock A. And again, as you can see, I do have sock A marked with a scrap piece of yarn. I have my cast on edge marked midway, so this is 40 stitches here, and then I have finished up over here. Now, so what we're going to do, so we are done with the ball of yarn for sock A for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide all these stitches onto the cable. And I have moved my ball for sock A over here just to keep it out of the way. And here is my ball of yarn for sock B. I've already measured out the yarn I need for my long tail cast on. I made my slip knot. And I'm just going to start casting on. And again, remembering that the tail goes in the front. The working yarn goes in the back. And we're just going to start casting on. Again, not casting on too tightly because we don't want a cast on edge that is so tight that it binds the leg and causes the sock to fall down the leg. So, all right, so I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to pause this video. I am going to keep casting on. I'm going to stop at my 40th stitch, put my stitch marker on to identify where I need to divide for the front and back of the sock. And then I'm going to finish up with the 80 stitches. So I'm going to pause the video again so you don't have to sit here and watch me cast on, but you keep working on casting on your 80 stitches and I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, welcome back. So we have finished casting on for sock B. And again, you can see that we have marked for just after our 40th cast on stitch, and that will help us to identify where to divide for the front and the back of the sock. So we are ready to begin setting up and dividing, and this does look a little bit of a mess, and it will get straightened up and be just fine, so don't worry about it. So again, this is Angela with That Stitchtastic. In our next video, we will be dividing these two socks and setting up to begin knitting the cuff. So be sure to join me in the next video. Thank you for watching, and be sure to check out my other videos. Please hit subscribe down below and that way you will be notified when I upload the next video in this series. Have a wonderful day. Make your life fantastic, one stitch at a time. Bye-bye.